A video diary from the year 1999 AD plays and unfolds the horrible events that led to the world they're now in. The three watch in horror as the creature of immense size bursts out of the ground. As soon as the creature is free, fire and brimstone fall from the sky and engulf the entire planet. This was the destruction, the awakening of Lavos. The teenagers then decide they have nothing better to do today, so let's save the future. Actually, Marl is the one who talked them all into it. Careful what you're getting into, Chrono. This girl just may be the death of you. Anyway, after being full of hope for the future of the world, the teens travel to the location of the next gate. There lies before them an old machine. Luca's eyes danced with excitement at the broken down machine before her. Marl asks if she can fix it. Ha! Like Luca couldn't. Once fixed, the robot tells the young adventurers about the fate of the world, and how he wants to prevent this outcome too. Robo then asks if he can join the group, and they all say of course. Once finding the gate, all four of them jump into it and cause it to malfunction. Not again! The time travelers end up at the end of time, a hub between worlds if you will. An old man informs the group that time travel only allows for 3 at a time, or maybe RPGs in the 90s only allowed really 3 at a time. Who knows? Speaking of RPGs, this game is one! Since this is a traditional RPG in the sense, you have turn-based battles. Now the reason for fighting in RPGs is to gain experience, money, items, and of course to level up your character. The main point of this game is time travel, going from one era to the next and undoing the past to make for a bright happy future. Sounds simple, right? Later in the game, you get a fun time machine of your own to make time travel a lot easier. This game also has anime to tell the story if you have a PlayStation or DS. Your main point of the game, though, is to stop Lavos from destroying the world and prevent a very poor future. Let me explain how an RPG's gameplay mechanic works. Every RPG has a main menu. This is where you can view your status, equip new weapons, use items, and see text. For the purpose of this review, I used items to restore my magic power. As you can see, my party is pretty high levels too. Once you're in the actual game mode, your characters can either walk or run by holding in the B button. This also works for the DS. You can talk by pressing the A button, and when you bump into an enemy, you'll start a turn-based battle, where you can attack in turns. That hand at the top corner there offers you 3 options: attack, text, and items. I'll be using attack to take care of these snakes. Let's use Cyclone. After selecting the attack, hit the A button, and you can see that I attacked both of them. After each attack, you inflict damage in the form of white points. As you can see, that was a bit overkill too. After each battle, you gain experience points, money, and sometimes items too. Now, Chrono Trigger on the Nintendo DS uses the touchscreen, and it can also use the traditional commands. You use the stylus to actually control the action, so the ease of use is much better now. And I actually enjoy playing this on the DS too. As you can clearly see too, I'm using a double tech, Chrono and Robo's one, to take out these enemies. And the DS has really made the structure of the battles much easier, and for people who are new to the series, they'll like this feature a lot. Since Chrono travels to many different points in time, each world has its own personality and characteristics, from the bright, cheerful, optimistic look of the present to the unknown, gloomy, worn-torn time of the Middle Ages, with its small towns, grand castles, and beautiful cathedrals. The art direction is so well done, an art form that has long since been forgotten in gaming today. Each world had its own story to tell, and filled you with a sense of wonder and curiosity like when you were a child. Every element of the story was melded with the outlook of the levels perfectly, filling the player with a sense of adventure around every turn. The future gave the player the feeling of sadness and regret, exploring the decaying world of a once proud civilization. The world is covered in ruined cities, destroyed roads, and is ruled by robots and monsters. The end of time is the road between worlds, and has a very stylish Victorian look to it. Maybe it's a throwback to H.G. Wells, I'm not really sure. While the villages in 1000 AD made me chuckle a little bit because here you have sinks, refrigerators, and stoves. Even though the characters are simple anime ones, each one is overflowing with expressions and molds perfectly with the game. Though this was 13 years ago, I still get that goosebump feeling for awesome scenes, like how Frog cuts the mountain in two. Mage's Castle is one of many people's favorite stages. This castle reflects a very unearthly, sinister element to this game. Players understand what kind of place this is as soon as the camera zooms up. Inside the castle, it's very dark and deadly. Lighting of the walkway is still not only a spooky intro to Mages, but a well-made one too. Personally, I didn't really like the prehistoric stage that much. You have some parts of the stage beaming with vegetation, others surrounded with lots of rocks and volcanoes. When I was talking on the phone with my friend Nick, he reminded me not to forget to mention the Kingdom of Zeal. How could I not mention it? Just look at this overworld map. Nothing I could say could do this stage justice at all. So all I'll say is this world describes the Kingdom of Magic and Splendor in a way words cannot. Everything in this game just screams, "I'm so awesome! Look at me!" I know I can't show everything, but I did my best to mention all the fans' favorite stages. Now it's time for me to talk about my favorite worlds. We'll start first with the Ocean Palace. Here you have the magical creatures guarding this place. The water, I think, is pure energy, and most of the stage has advanced technology all over. This elevator scene is probably my favoriteest part. For me, it reminds me of the Turtles games of old. I liked how the action doesn't slow down at all, and it gives the player the impression of just how big the Ocean Palace really is. The actual character animations in battles isn't bad either. It's just the same sprites of the actual game characters, unlike most RPGs at that time. The art direction is incredible too, so if you're a fan of Dragon Ball Z, you will like this. This game is so incredibly massive, so I don't think that I could describe everything, but I will sure try my best. My favorite designed world is in the past, 600 AD. One thing that I can't praise this game enough for is the overworld map. Now in the past, RPG players would be dragged into one battle after another on the overworld, not in Chrono Trigger. Players could explore the world to their heart's content and not have to worry about fighting, ever. As said before, everyone has their favorite world and can go into great detail. But for me, I like them all. I picked this stage because of the size of the stage, and the background detail is beautiful. The water literally sparkles. It has enormous waterfalls, ponds, and streams too. The greatest addition to this RPG is to avoid battles. Most of the time you can move Chrono and company out of the way of an attacking enemy. Players got to choose if they would want to fight or not. When the game was re-released in 1999, Japan brought anime scenes to the PlayStation version. The man behind this was the same genius of Dragon Ball fame. Even before the anime scenes were put in, this game was still amazingly well designed. Okay, so we know that the designs added depth to the experience, but what about the music? I'm happy to tell you that the music is what made this game come to life in a way that wasn't conceived before in games. The music had a feel of its own and brought Chrono and his world to life in a way that was not only groundbreaking, but heartfelt as well. The music was filled with emotion. Each character had a catchy theme, each time period had its own music, and every single aspect of this game was told with a brilliant musical score that would make movie composers jealous. Throughout this review, you will hear all my favorite tracks, which is probably why the review is as long as it is. But can you blame me? The music is insanely epic! Sound effects wise, it's the standard you get from the Final Fantasy games on the Super Famicom. But they're not bad. Chrono Trigger was introduced to me in the summer of '95. I had to wait 3 months to rent it though. When I played it, I was like, wow! The farthest I got was 600 AD after getting back Marl. I asked for the game for Christmas, but I got Earthworm Jim 2 instead. It wasn't until after we moved to Illinois that I got to play the whole game. I was a little young when it came out, so with a kid with ADD, I didn't really have the patience for all the story. But after sitting down with it later, I couldn't believe how good it was! I played it over and over and over again, almost as much as A Link to the Past. When I was at college, I first saw the anime scenes in Chrono Trigger a few months after 9/11. Our dorm had a game night on New Year's Eve to brighten everyone's spirits, but unless you lived in New York, you probably didn't understand the atmosphere then. Anyway, there were game system hooked up and people were laughing and having a great time. There was a PlayStation hooked up and on came this scene with Frog. I was immediately at attention and grabbed the now vacant controller. I played for hours. Good times! Although I did get a demerit for not being back at my dorm by 1 a.m. You will-be people will understand what I mean. Still, fond memories.